Welcome back, guys. It is Battleforged Brothers and bringing you another 40k battle report. Bit of a special one today. It is only quite a short, small forces today. 50 power level points we're playing, but you'll see why in a moment. So we're playing over this ruined sector of an Imperial planet. Big pipeline running through the middle. Obviously had some malfunctions on an objective over here, which I'll go over in a second. Just defence lines scattered and manufactoriums just ruined everywhere. No sign of anyone at the moment, but we're soon about to go and see two armies clash. So we are playing Retrieval mission. Now, Retrieval is basically the new version of the Emperor's Will. So there is 4 objectives. We have got them numbered, but it doesn't really make a difference. So we've got objective 2 there. We have 4 here, 3 over there, and objective 1 just near the ruined Aquila over here. It's not a whole like a take objective 2, take objective 4. It's literally just so we know where they are, you guys know where they are. Each objective is worth 3 victory points. Still got Slay the Warlord, Linebreaker, and of course First Blood. And battling over this ruined city here will be the forces of the Thousand Suns, represented by the Thousand Suns dice, which will be deploying in this section here. Bit of a spear tip and frontal assault, I believe it's called in the book. And over here, represented by the green dice, is going to be a new faction. So it is only 50 power level, so it's equivalent to approximately 1,000 points. And it is the debut of the Orcs. Nice to see Orcs on the channel. And at the moment, the Orcs are currently going first. So we will be back after the deployment of the armies. And of course, we will start with the Orcs. Back in a moment. Right, guys, this is the debut of the Orc force. It is only a small force, but they are on the channel. So we'll just quickly move over to this side first. I'll start left to right. We have a truck here with the wrecking ball. A big shooter. Inside there's 10 boys. We have a knob who is equipped with a power claw. Just their standard equipment, the choppers and shooters for them. Moving across here we have the warlord who is armed with a custom shooter and a power claw, looking beastly as ever. Behind him is a Death Dread who's equipped with rocket launcher, scorcher and the 2 power claw weapons. We have a 3-man squad of knobs with 2 power claws and the kill saws in the back and the 2 custom shooters for the regular guys there. Just moving across to the right hand side, we have an Orc Blitzer Bomber who will be dropping his bombs and shooting all over the place. And of course the obligatory loads of Orc dice. So it is only a short, it's going to hopefully be a short game with the amount of models on the board, because once you see the Thousand Suns, you'll understand why. So both armies will have quite a low model count, but by no means do they not pack a punch. So we'll come back just after the deployment for the Thousand Suns. Right, and this is the Thousand Suns force that will be taking on the Orcs. So just under here is an Exalted Sorcerer who has Warp Time and Prescience. We have a 10-man Rubik squad with the Solar Reaper cannon in there. To the right of them is another Exalted Sorcerer who has Warp Time and Infernal Gaze. And just anchoring the right-hand side is the Helldrake, who has the Helldrake Claws and the Bale Flamer. And just in reserve, we have a squad of Scarab Occult Terminators with a Solar Reaper cannon that will be dropping down from high orbit, teleporting on the battlefield, hopefully to wreak some havoc where needs be. So, at the moment, we currently going second to the Orcs. We are just going to pinch an Orc dice to see if we can seize the initiative. So hopefully we'll get a nice tasty 6. On a roll of a 2, we don't, so it'll be the Orcs on their debut going first. So we'll be back after Orcs movement phase, turn 1. Right, okay, so we're just back after the Orc movement phase. So as the Orc war boss, who's yet to be unnamed, lets out a war. Not the ruler-wise, he's just screamed, and these guys have just pulled forward. The Orc boys in the truck just screaming around here. With him being unnamed at the moment, he's been very tactful. So I'm sure Graham would appreciate if anybody can come up with some cool names, sensible suggestions, please. Although I do like reading funny ones. Sensible options only, though. We will give a name to this guy as well. Just backed up by the Knobs and the Death Dread. And just flying over, the Blitzer Bomber has just come screaming across. He has dropped one of his bombs on the Exalted Sorcerer down here, who just so happens to be my Warlord. So he has took one mortal wound. So we'll come back after the Orc shooting phase. There's no Psychers in the Orc force for the time being, just with it being a small skirmish, just checking out the lay of the land. So we'll come back after shooting phase. There's no assaults to be done, so we'll come back after shooting, and then straight into turn 1 for the Thousand Suns. So we'll be back in a moment. Right, okay, so we're just back after Orc shooting phase, turn 1. Not a great deal. All that's really happened is the majority of weapons are out of range. The Death Dreads fired his rocket, got a lucky hit, and killed one of the rubrics. We failed our invuln save there as well. So, apart from that, there was no further shooting from this guy. No assaults, of course. So we'll just go straight into the movement phase for the Thousand Suns on their turn 1. Right, so just back after the Thousand Suns movement for their turn 1. As you can see, rubrics have just shifted forward just to get in range. With a bit of cheeky shenanigans in the psychic phase, we may be able to move them closer. The Warlords just shifted up behind them. The second one's just jumped straight over there, just in range there. However, for targeting purposes, we're just trying to keep a little bit behind the rubrics, just to give a little bit of support for him. And the Helldrakes came flying around here, looking to get some nice tasty bale flamer shots on the Orc truck there. So, very quick movement phases, so we'll come back after psychic and shooting for the Thousand Suns. Hopefully, we can dish out some damage to the Orcs. So, we'll be back in a moment. Right, okay, so just back after psychic and shooting phase for the Thousand Suns on their turn 1. So, this guy here cast Prescience on the rubrics. He tried to cast Warp Time but failed. However, this guy cast Warp Time on the rubrics and they have moved. In the shooting phase, Soul Reaper Cannon firing into the Death Dread did no damage, and the bolter rounds from the rest of the rubrics fired into the Knobs and reduced one of them down to 1 wound. Just over here, Helldrake shot into the truck and reduced it down to 5 wounds. And we are going to try to see if we can assault it as well. So just moving into the assaults, we need a 5-inch charge. So we're just going to roll that on camera and then we'll resolve Overwatch for the guys inside. Okay, on a 9, they'll definitely be in there. So we'll come back after the end of the assault phase and after the combat and Overwatch has been resolved over there. Right, so we're just back after the Thousand Suns on their assault phase. So attacks here did 2 damage to the truck, reduced it down to 3 wounds. So it is limping along. The boys inside are still fine. No damage back to the Helldrake. So not great deal. So both armies just exchanging firepower at the moment. Just limping along at the moment. Trying to get towards each other as close as possible. However, we are going into the Orcs on their turn 2. And the War Boss will not be pleased about what's going on at the moment. We still have this flyer, obviously, to deal with as well. So it'll be zipping around doing what it can do. So we'll come back after movement phase for Orcs on their turn 2. Right, okay, so we're just back after the Orcs movement phase. And the truck has just come out of combat and the boys have disembarked. The Warlord just slinkering behind them. Death Dreads come moving up its full distance as well as the Knobs. The Flyer has just come screeching straight over the rubrics and on its way dropped a bomb and took 7 of the rubrics out. That bomb, it is the last one that it's done, but it's lethal. So Graham got an amazing roll, 7 mortal wounds, no protection from that, so squad's reduced dramatically down. So on our turn, no doubt we will need to bring on the Scarab Cult so that they can wreak some vengeance. But it is out of bombs now, so could have been a lot worse. He could have used both of them on the rubrics, one in the first turn, one in the second. But they're limping along here. We need to get them out of the way. We need to put as much pressure on the Orcs as possible. We may have to warp time them over here to claim this objective to get away from all this firepower. Maybe bring in the Scarabocult Terminators down here instead. I think our strategy will have to be the Helldrake will have to cause some backfield damage here to take the pressure off. The Sorcerers are still fine for the time being, but depends whether these guys are still going to be here, because a lot of firepower is about to probably head their way. So we'll be coming back after the Orcs shooting on their turn 2. Right, okay, so we're just back after the Orc turn 2. So just after their shooting, they've got no assault, so done the whole turn. The Bomber, no viable targets, so hasn't shot. The boys haven't shot. The truck can't because it fell back. However, these guys, the Knobs and the Death Dread, fired the rocket launcher and the custom shooters just into the rubrics, and they're still fine over there. So we just do have morale to do for these guys here. So they've lost 7 on this turn. So basically, if we need a low roll, and a low roll we get, so we're absolutely fine for morale there. So we are just moving into the Thousand Suns on their turn 2. Looks as though them Terminators will come in handy soon. So whether we bring them on now or not, we may just try and see if we can play a gambit here. So we'll come back after the movement phase for the Thousand Suns on their turn 2. Right, so we're just back after the movement phase for the Thousand Suns. So the Helldrake has just come screaming over here and done a bit of a U-turn. We'll just double check whether that's feasible. There's nothing to say that we can't. Seems a bit weird doing it, but I presume it's taking a swooping round, so within range to do so. So he's just lining up for some nice bale flamer shots and potentially charges as well. Over here, the Scarabocult have just deep struck down here just for some support for this Exalted Sorcerer, and he's just jumped up a little bit as well. We forgot to mention as well on the morale phase, we did mess up. We needed a 1 to pass, so we did decide, bit difficult, but we decided to take off the Sorcerer, and this guy has just moved up across here. The Warlord's just moving around here towards this objective there, and we do have the Psychic phase and Shooting phase to go into as well. So after that movement, hopefully we can get some Psychic shenanigans off to boost us up. Hopefully get some smites and take out some firepower and some combat power from the Orcs. So we'll come back after the Psychic and Shooting has been resolved for the Thousand Suns. Right, so we are just back after the Psychic and Shooting phase. So a very quick Psychic. This Sorcerer didn't manage to get any powers off. However, this one just managed to catch warp time on this guy here, and he just pulled over ever so slightly, just to get out of harm's way for the time being. No further powers that way. We did cast, we also made a bit of a mistake as well. We ended up getting prescience off. We cast it on the Helldrake, but then there was no point to do it because he's already got a flamer, so it was kind of pointless for that. But you live and learn. In Shooting, we reduced the boy squad down to a single man, and that was from the bolters from the Terminators and the Soul Reaper cannon, shot individually at the truck and reduced it down by a further wound. Firepower coming in from the Helldrake down at the boys as well helped reduce them down. And apart from that, these guys, no firepower from them, so we do just have 1 assault to set off, and that's the Helldrake chasing after the Bomber. So we've already pre-measured it. We need 5-inch charge to get in, so hopefully we can get into combat and rip it to pieces. Okay, so that is a 6-inch move, so we'll be in combat. So we'll come back after Overwatch and of course the inevitable combat, see if we can tear some wings off this Bomber. So we'll be back at the end and we'll be back at the beginning of Orcs on their turn 3. Right, so very quickly, just back at the end of Thousand Suns on their turn 2, just combat wise, we dished out 3 wounds to the Bomber, so it's just sat there on 9 wounds, so it's still doing fine. Just for morale over here, the Lonely Boy was going to run away, but then his war boss decided, no, we're going to break your head, and killed him. Hit him a little bit too hard with that power claw, so that unit is gone. So we're just going to go back into the Orcs for their turn 3. We're starting to get very thin for both sides here by the looks of it. Orcs probably outnumbering us a little bit more, but we're going to see what they do on their turn 3. So we'll be back after movement for Orcs on turn 3. Right, okay, so very quickly after the movement phase for the Orcs, the war boss is just underneath the wing of the Helldrake, supported by the Death Dread. Looks as though they're going to probably try and attack the Helldrake in combat. The Knobs just surging forward through the barricades here, through the Aegis defence line. The Truck's just moved a tiny little bit across there, and the Flyer has just turned its full 90 and just gone straight up this way as well. No further bombs for that to drop on its way, but there would only be Orc targets anyway. So we'll be back after shooting phase, and for the Orcs, and we'll see hopefully if the Helldrake can withstand shooting as well as the combat. So we'll be back at the end of shooting. Right, okay, so just back after the Orc shooting phase. Not a great deal, to be honest. These guys firing in across here to the Lonely Rubik, and he's still standing. Firepower coming in from the Orc Truck, the Warboss, and the Death Dread into the Helldrake. It came down to the Death Dread to do the damage, took 3 wounds off him. And apart from that, nothing else to go through. So, just onto the assaults. So there's 2 charges that the Orcs have got to set off here. So the Orc Warboss as well as the Death Dread. So just rolling for the Orc Warboss. He needs about 5 to get in.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he'll be in. And the Death Dread, yeah, he only needs about a 3-inch charge. Yeah, they're both in there. So we will resolve Overwatch and combat, but we'll come back after the combat's been resolved, going into Thousand Suns turn 3. Back in a moment. Right, okay, so just back after Orcs turn 3 for their assaults. The Death Dread has come smashed this pipeline apart, and it's gone up in a bit of a blaze. No rules for that, but just thought it looked cool. And the Warboss is in combat as well. However, as you can notice, the Helldrake is still on 9 wounds. That is because the Warboss rolled to hit, got a few hits. In regards to wounds, he rolled this. Treble 1. Very, very unlucky. And then, of course, the Death Dread, he got 2 wounds on the Helldrake. -3 for the AP, so we took our demon saves, and we rolled this. So, the Zinch is definitely smiling upon this Helldrake today. Doesn't normally perform very well the last couple of games, but he's doing quite alright today. It is a small game, so that's probably the reason. But that is combat's finished, so we are going into the Thousand Suns for their turn 3. And just to mention, forgot to mention earlier, with the boys being destroyed, Thousand Suns do have first blood. So we will be going back into the Thousand Suns for their turn 3, so we'll be back after movement. Right, so just back after movement phase for Thousand Suns. So the Terminators have just moved up into this crater. We're not playing by crater rules at this stage, so we are just classing it as free terrain. We're going to start using the proper rules for these soon, but just so we get the grips with things. The Exalted's just pulled round, still within range to cast some powers as well. The Helldrake has just fell back over to this way. As far as I can see, obviously there's no minimum distance, just the maximum, so within 30, so just dropped over here. And obviously Infernal Regeneration, got a wound back. The Rubric's just come round here, as well as the Warlord as well, just to get within range of this objective over here. And we're just going to go into the Psychic and shooting phase, so hopefully we can put some wounds on these 2 guys here. We might start putting some wounds, hopefully, onto the Warlord. And obviously the Bale Flamer will be coming in handy down here as well. So we'll come back after Psychic and shooting phase for Thousand Suns on their turn 3. Alright, okay, so just back after Psychic and shooting. So Psychic was quite eventful. We cast Infernal Gears and dished out 3 mortal wounds to the Warboss, and we also got 1 with Smite, and he's gone. So we've got Slay the Warlord there. Shooting from these guys, fired into the Death Dread, did 1 wound, but Graham passed it. We've shot from the Bale Flamer and reduced this squad down to 1 knob, and just that came from a little help from this Rubric here, shooting through the doorway, stripping some extra wounds off as well. Apart from that, nothing else really to go on. We've just got 1 assault to charge, and that is for the Terminators into the Death Dread. So we've measured that we need a 5-inch charge. Okay, we don't get in, but obviously Graham will get his Overwatch against the Terminators. So we'll come back after at the beginning of Orcs on their turn 4 and give you an update on the Overwatch down here as well. So we'll be back in a moment. Right, so we are just back after Orcs on their movement turn 4. Just to remind, obviously, no damage dealt on Overwatch here. A couple of shots in from the Flamer, but we passed all of our saves. And morale, the Orc Knob absolutely fine. So just after movement, Death Dread is moving in. Look as though he's going to get some shots and then a charge. The Orc Truck's just going back, probably being called away, to be honest, on the very low wounds he's on. The Mega Knob, not very happy. He's probably going to try and get into a charge with the Heldrake. Be a bit of a risk, but he should still be able to do some damage with that Power Claw. And the Flyer, he does actually fit down here, but we thought it looked so cool, literally flying right down here. Probably going to try and get some shots at my Warlord. So we'll come back after shooting phase for the Orcs on their turn 4. Hopefully Warlord should still survive, but a lot of firepower coming in, and of course we should be okay here, but we all have to wait and see what's going to happen. So we'll be back after shooting for Orcs on their turn 4. Right, okay, so just back after the shooting phase for Orcs on their turn 4. So just over here, the Death Dread firing everything he could into the Terminators, killed one of the number off. That was from a rocket launcher coming, firing, smashing them straight in the face and killing them. Just over here, the Blitzer Bomber took 2 wounds off the Exalted, so he is limping, but he's still kicking around for now. And no further damage done over here. And obviously we do have 2 charges, I believe, to set off. Graham wants to charge. So we'll do this one first, because we want the Mega Knob to get into combat with the Heldrake. Oh, yep, he'll be in. We'll resolve Overwatch in a second. And over here, we reckon it's only a 3-inch charge. Yep, on a 4, absolutely fine. So we'll get the combats resolved, and we'll come back after the end of Orcs on their turn 4. Right, okay, so just back after the Orcs turn 4, just after combat, killed 2 of the Terminators. We passed morale here as well, dealt no damage back. We'll probably be looking to fall back out of combat. And we might hopefully be able to see if we can get some smites off. Or we might potentially be really cheeky here. We might try and fall back and then warp time them somewhere. Might go for this one over here and just make the Orcs chase us. Might be a little bit too far though, so we might see if we can hold our ground here. No damage done here either. Heldrake's still fine. And just over this side, no combats were initiated over this side. So just going into Thousand Suns on their turn 4. Only main things that I think we can probably do is just to see if we can hold out over here. Put some shots into that. Might see if we can warp time over there and try and make it as difficult as possible for this to chase down my Warlord. Apart from that, we are quite thin on the ground. A little bit more, I would say, than what the Orcs do. And might use the Heldrake to maybe take over the combat over here. But we'll be back after Thousand Suns movement on their turn 4. Right, okay, so we're just back after, I've just decided to do the whole phase just with it being very little models on the board. So just after the end of turn 4, what we've done is we've moved the Heldrake up here, and he's fired into the Orc truck and destroyed it. Just down here, you'll notice that the Orc Mega Knob is gone, and that was firepower, so he's just moved and shot through the window. Actually, sorry, he didn't move, it just stayed stationary. Shot through to there. The Exalted Sorcerer's moved 6, and in the Psyche phase he warp timed as well. And just exactly the same over here. Warp time, and just getting closer to there. In combat, as you can see, we've lost 2 of our number. That was from the Death Dread. We're probably going to lose that Terminator, but we're just trying to see if we can hold him as possible. He can always fall back, of course, but it just restricts that shooting power from him. Just looking into it as well, just Infernal Regeneration, gained a wound back on the Heldrake. So we are just going into the Orcs on their turn 5. Turn 5's more than likely going to be the last turn here. So as it stands at the moment, scores are still 2-0. But of course, the Orcs are not out of it. Still got this fly to shift around as well. So we'll be back after the Orcs. I'm going to do the whole turn. So we'll cover movement, shooting and assaults as well. After their turn 5, back in a moment. Right, so we're just back at the end of the Orcs on their turn 5. Just done very, very quick. As you can see, Terminator was minced out by these claws on this, and he's just currently holding that objective as well. The Flyer just came zooming over here, shot into the Exalted Sorcerer, still kicking around, but reduced down to 3 wounds. Apart from that, nothing really else of note. There's literally 2 models on the board for the Orcs. So we're just going to do the entire phase once again for the Thousand Suns on their turn 5. Which more than likely this will be the final turn. Right, okay, so just back after Thousand Suns on turn 5. The Helldrakes came flying up here. We're just doing the full turn. These guys, he's just moved up to claim this objective here. Same with the Exalted Sorcerer, and on the other side, just coming over here, this guy is claiming that objective. Just in the Psychic phase, we dished out Infernal Gaze and Smite and took some wounds off the Flyer. But then in the shooting phase, Helldrake, he's performed really well this game, actually. I'm quite impressed. He's done a lot better than he usually does. He's took out the Bomber. No assaults, of course, but it is turn 5. So we are going to see if it continues on. So on a roll of a 1 or a 2, it will be all over. It is all over. Right, so in regards to points, that puts 3 for this, 3 for that. So that's 3, 6. We're currently holding over there. That's 9 over there. That puts us on 10, 11, because we got Slay the Warlord and First Blood. So that puts us on 11 to the Orcs 3, because they are currently holding this objective over here. Very brutal game. Didn't feel as though we were winning by a great deal. Obviously, objectives is what it all comes down to at the end of the day. But it was only a short game. You know, if the Orcs, if it was a bigger game, of course, you know, there'd be a lot more to go through. Be a lot more units to move around, but it was absolutely amazing to see the Orcs on the channel today. They're such an iconic 40k race, and so pleased to have them finally on the channel. So, as we mentioned earlier on, think of a name for the war boss. Sensible options, of course. He's not dead; he's just lingering away. He's being pulled away by his little grot. So no doubt he'll be back to wreak vengeance upon the Sons of Magnus. I hope you've enjoyed this short little one today, guys. Like I say, if you like what you see, especially if you like the armies, check out the channel. Give us a subscribe and a like, especially if you just want to keep up to date with what's going on the channel. And once again, thanks for watching, and tune in next time.